Hello and welcome to Gaming Insights. I am your host, the Kingfish. In this series, I will share with you my opinion on current happenings in the gaming realm. My goal is to inform and entertain. Today, I have a question for you. What have you observed happening in the gaming realm in the past few years? I believe I see the beginning of history repeating itself. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the video game industry experienced the greatest boom and bust in its history. I'm not going to go over the details, but it culminated in what is now referred to as the game crash of 1983, or Atari shock in Japan. There were four main factors that contributed to this. The first was a decrease in quality due to the shortened development cycles games were exposed to, resulting in game breaking bugs. The second was a saturated console market. The third was increasing interest in home computers. And the fourth was a loss of publishing control. Let us use the four main failures to analyze the parallels between then and now. First, shortened development cycles, decreasing quality. Sounds familiar, but there's a difference in today's market. Game-breaking bugs can now be patched. What we're dealing with now are games being produced like this, having a sheer lack of content altogether. The second, the saturated console market. I wouldn't say this rings quite true either, considering there are only three competing companies now, whenever there were more than eight at the end of the 1970s. But I would say, considering that people spend exponentially more time in a single title these days, the games market could still be regarded as saturated, even though title count per generation have become smaller. Third was a growing interest in home computers, and let's face it, if someone wants a PC instead of a console, they could build one at cost of the newer console and get similar or better performance out of it, and largely the libraries are similar to that of consoles anyway. The exception being games are usually playable on PC for a few years before being ported to consoles, unless it's a simultaneous release, as is with things like Assassin's Creed. The fourth and final part, the loss of publishing control, has no instance in the market today as of yet. Each company is pretty good at tending their own garden, per se, but this can become a problem very fast if a certain game company wins their case. More on this later. This brings me to my premise. If the current trend of games being rushed and released with little or no content, little or no quality control, I can see a history repeating itself in the near future. This new crash would be different than in the past. It would have a wider scope and less overall impact on the gaming market. And it will not happen as fast. Perhaps even 5 years is too fast. But I could see it happening in 10 years. A few notable ways this could play out is as follows. One, if Epic were to win its case against Apple outright, which is highly unlikely to happen, wherein, Apple is forced to host Epic Games without being paid and without being able to remove the games from the store due to quality, breach of contract, or otherwise. This could open the door for some other developer asking for equal treatment under the same ruling, but with a different company. And what it all builds up to is anyone being able to publish anything anywhere without paying for it and without quality control. I believe this is the loss of publishing control that was missing, the final nail in the coffin, and it would really only affect the US again. Another possible way this could happen is, in short, every game becomes Fortnite, and what I mean by that is monetizations. People paying real money for fake things in a game they don't own just to look different while doing the same things over and over again. This seems like it could become a possibility since a lot of games are moving toward that model. It still seems pretty unlikely, though. and this would affect the entire gaming market. The final scenario I'm going to cover, and in my opinion the most plausible, is a third-party crash. Third-party developers have been under fire lately due to numerous things. How long will it continue before consumers completely abandon the third-party market? And I don't mean indie. I mean the huge third-party AAA giants. The indie market is thriving. Perhaps Sony has seen this coming because if you haven't noticed over the past few months, Sony has released many of its first-party titles on the PC marketplace. Not an attempt to pull PC players from PC, but perhaps to showcase the quality of their first-party offerings and to maybe secure a few more sales for the upcoming PS5. To this day, it seems many consumers don't understand that what developers do is all dependent on what consumers do, and consumers control the market. If something is hyped up to the point that everyone pre-orders it, do you think the developers care if they deliver an experience that is not deserving of said hype? The developers perhaps, but definitely not the publisher or the investors backing them. Especially if you gave them the money in advance. Their investment is already partially or fully covered, and you provided them that cushion to fall back on. What I have done lately, and what I advise everyone to do, is adopt a wait and see attitude and make your own decisions. Don't be fooled by what any one reviewer says, because there is a chance that they're being paid to give favorable reviews. Apparently, some people's integrity isn't worth much. Shop smart, pay attention to the videos and gameplay footage you see, and if you decide it's worth the investment, then by all means go for it. Do you think a publisher will continue to producing things gamers don't want if it doesn't sell? Of course not. The power to affect change is that of the consumers and always has been, through their buying habits. And by making smart decisions, you can avoid the heartache and financial hit of investing something that doesn't quite live up to the expectation you held for it. Bottom line, if the consumers allow companies to make a profit off something that is subpar, broken, contentless, or heavily monetized, the companies are going to continue putting out products of similar quality. If consumers don't buy games like this, developers will have to invest more time, effort, and money into developing something of higher quality. On another note, if someone reviews a game, I would expect it to be as honest, accurate, and unbiased as possible, even though everyone has biases. Someone might not like certain mechanics or genres, but the point of a review is to get honest and accurate information to help a consumer make the decision for themselves. We are at the point where some would rather play an early access indie game for years than waste time with the current state of the so-called AAA titles, because they're new and fun and bring something fresh to the table. And the quality maybe even nearing that of the AAA titles, and if not in some cases exceeding. Because they listen to their community and what they want, and they don't try to tell them what they want. I like to see that gamers have had a voice lately with some of the things developers have been doing, but you need to put your money where your mouth is and stop buying the games at issue. Remember, if they make a profit, they'll do the same thing again. I'm not saying people don't already make these decisions, I just think more people should. Consider the value you get versus what you pay, and I don't mean just in money. Is the time you invest in a game worth it if it's not as good as you thought it would be? Is there potentially a better game you would rather invest time in? With how large games are becoming, time invested is a major consideration we all should be thinking about. I would like to avoid another video game crash, and mindlessly supporting predatory business practices is a good way to make it happen faster. If the current trends in gaming continue, there will be a crash. Perhaps not as bad, but the fate of the gaming industry ultimately lies in the hands of the consumer. Thank you for listening. If this was insightful, informative, or entertaining, please give it a like. If you want to hear more topics like this one, subscribe and ring the bell. If you feel as strongly about this topic as I do, spread the word, let people know I exist, as well as hear what I have to say. Remember, this is merely my opinion, and you can agree or disagree. Comment and share with me your thoughts on the matter at hand. I hope to see everyone again. Kingfish, signing off.